Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that digs into a pile of information to find those surprising, sometimes really counterintuitive things that can mess with what seems like a simple plan, like booking travel. Today, we're zeroing in on something that trips up so many people: car rentals.
Exactly. And specifically, we're diving deep into Maui car rental prices. We've got the latest data, historical trends, the whole picture.
Yeah, our mission today is really to unpack what's driving the costs, the availability, the best ways to actually rent a car there, especially around those peak times. We're looking now the past, booking strategies,
Yeah.
trying to make sense of it all so you feel, well, really informed, like you've got the inside scoop for your next trip. So let's just jump right in. What's the scene like right now for Maui car rentals that week of July 7th, 2025? We're talking sticker shock.
Ah, yes, you definitely are. Prices are right at their seasonal peak, which honestly is what we expect right after the July 4th holiday. The absolute cheapest you'll find for that week for an economy car out of Kahului Airport, ODG, that's $274 for the week,
Okay, $274.
which works out to about $40 a day, once you add taxes and fees.
40 bucks a day, peak season.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not horrifying for economy. But you mentioned some specific cars get really wild.
Oh, yeah. Convertibles are a perfect example. Just a little while ago, they were super cheap, unseasonably low, really. Probably a temporary sale, maybe a big shipment came in. But now, for that July 7th week, they've shot up a staggering 131%.
Whoa, wait, 131%?
Yep, up to $911 a week from Payless. It's a huge jump.
That's mind-boggling, just in a few weeks.
It is. And minivans, that's an even stranger situation.
Oh, what's happening there?
Well, prices were already unusually high for weeks, and now they're completely sold out, island-wide.
Completely sold out. Wow, high demand then.
Here's the twist. Despite being sold out, we know there are actually extra minivans just sitting there in storage lots.
Sitting idle while they're sold out. How does that make sense?
The thinking is they're being staged, probably to ship off-island, maybe back to the mainland. It's like a market correction for those vehicles.
A market correction.
Yeah.
So they have too many, even though people want to rent them right now.
Essentially, yes. It seems the rental companies decided minivans weren't maybe the most profitable long-term for that market, so they're moving them out. It's this kind of corporate fleet management decision that's causing this immediate weird situation of a sellout alongside idle vehicles.
Huh. That is really counterintuitive. So fleet strategy overriding immediate demand. Fascinating. Okay, just quickly, what about other types? Any big moves for July 7th?
Yeah, quick rundown. Midsize cars are up 19%. That's $403 a week with Thrifty. Jeeps, interestingly, are down a bit, 9%. $576 from Payless. SUVs, though, up 22%. $556, Thrifty again. And the big 7-seat SUVs, also down slightly, 10%, to $1,026 with Hertz. So, yeah, quite a mixed bag.
It really is, all over the place.
And, this is all happening while the TSA is reporting massive travel numbers, like one of the busiest air travel periods ever.
Right, they're expecting what, 18.5 million flyers?
Yeah, something like that over the long weekend, more than last year, more than even 2019 before the pandemic. So demand is definitely high overall.
Which just reinforces for you, the listener, if you're traveling now or very soon,
Yeah.
these aren't just numbers. This is the reality on the ground you're dealing with. Okay, so that's the current picture. A bit chaotic, peak prices, weird stuff with minivans. But here's the really big question. Is this just like a temporary blip? Or is there actually a predictable pattern to Maui car rentals?
Well, that's where looking back helps. And yes, there generally is a pattern. What we're seeing now, this peak, followed by an expected dip right after the holiday, then kind of leveling off for the rest of summer. That fits the historical trends pretty well. We did a 5-year study, 2013 to 2018,
Okay.
and it showed prices almost always peak around July 4th.
Wow.
Then they stay at those high summer levels through July into early August. Then they drop for the shoulder season in September.
And this isn't just old data, right? Didn't we see this last year too?
Exactly. Summer 2024 followed the same script, peaked for the 4th, dipped a bit, leveled off through August. So yeah, it seems to be a reliable pattern.
Okay, so the pattern holds. What about looking forward, like advanced bookings for later this summer?
Yeah, we looked at the advanced reservation forecast for July and August 2025. These are the lowest advertised prices for a week's rental, booked ahead, both at the airport and off airport. And guess what? Same pattern.
Give us some numbers.
Okay, for OGG Airport, $274 for the week of July 6th. Then it dips down to $251 for July 13th and 20th. Then creaks back up a bit, $277 by August 4th.
And off airport, same dip.
A similar idea, yeah. Off OGG starts at $290 for July 6th, dips lower actually to $221 for July 13th, then climbs back up to $254 by August 4th.
So there is a predictable rhythm underneath the noise.
Pretty much.
And that predictability is super valuable for you listening. It means you're not just guessing when you plan. Understanding these trends, historical and forecast, can genuinely help your planning, your budgeting. It gives you a real edge. Okay, so patterns are helpful. But we also saw those crazy swings, like the convertibles and the sellouts. So what does this all mean for your actual booking strategy? Like, when should you book? Last minute, way in advance. And what about airport versus off-airport? Is that old advice still good?
Right. Excellent questions. And the booking timing thing, well, what we've seen since about mid-December last year, 2024, might surprise you.
Oh, how so?
Well, counterintuitively, booking way in advance, like 5 weeks out for busy times like Memorial Day or July 4th, those prices were often higher than the prices you could get much closer to the date.
Seriously, higher if you booked early for peak season. I always assumed early was cheapest.
Not necessarily. Based on this recent data, let's take that week of July 7th again.
Okay, lay it out for us.
All right. An airport rental for a booking starting tomorrow. 5 weeks ago, the price was $451 for the week. High, right. Then 1 week ago, it had dropped sharply, down to just $251.
Oh, nearly $200 cheaper.
Exactly. Then today, it's ticked back up slightly to $274, still way less than the 5 weeks out price.
Okay, that's a huge swing for airport rentals. What about off-airport?
Similar story, but with a twist. 5 weeks ago, off-airport was $315. The very next week, it plunged down to just $194.
Even cheaper.
For a moment, yeah. But then it started climbing back up week after week. Today, it's at $290.
Huh. So off-airport is now more expensive than the airport price.
Slightly, yes. $290 off-airport versus $274 at the airport for that economy car starting tomorrow.
So why did the off-airport price climb back up so much more steadily?
It really comes down to inventory. Off-airport places just have fewer cars.
Right.
So even a small bump in demand or maybe fewer cars available for whatever reason means their pricing systems react more dramatically. They jack up the prices on the few cars left.
Got it. Less buffer, bigger reaction. Okay, that makes sense. Now let's tackle that airport versus off-airport thing directly. The classic advice for years was rent off-airport in Maui. It's cheaper, right? Avoid those airport taxes and fees, the convenience charge.
That was the standard wisdom. Higher taxes, plus that sort of discretionary convenience premium the airport locations often charge.
So has that held up? Is off-airport still the budget play?
Well, this is another area where things have gotten weird recently. In the last few months, we've frequently seen off-airport prices actually higher than airport prices.
Higher, really?
Yeah, it seems to be a consequence of the business environment after the Lahaina wildfires in August 2023.
Ah, okay. How so?
It looks like many off-airport operators really cut back, reduced their inventory, maybe scaled back operations overall because, tourism took a huge hit initially. They just haven't fully ramped back up, perhaps.
So less supply off-airport, even if demand is returning.
That seems to be the case, which flips the old pricing dynamic.
So right now, July 6, 2025, where's the better deal generally?
Right now, the airport is actually cheaper for most of the main categories. Economy, compact, mid-size, Jeeps, SUVs.
And what about the others? Convertibles, 7-seaters, minivans?
Well, minivans are sold out everywhere, airport or off-airport. And for convertibles and the 7-seat SUVs, there's simply no availability listed from off-airport locations at all right now. Zero.
Wow. So the old advice is basically useless at the moment.
Pretty much. The traditional model is, like you said, turned on its head. And honestly, we don't know when or even if that usual price pattern will come back.
It really underscores why this stuff matters for planning. You can't just rely on old assumptions. You need current info. It provides critical context, helps you manage expectations for your trip.
Okay, so knowing all this about Maui's internal dynamics, it makes you wonder, how does it compare to the rest of Hawaii? Is Maui the most expensive place to rent a car, given all this? Or is it, maybe surprisingly, not so bad compared to Oahu or Kauai? That's a great question to ask for perspective. We did a quick check, looked at the cheapest one-week rental costs starting Monday, July 7th from all 5 major Hawaii airports. And first off, prices increased everywhere this week. It's peak season across the board.
Okay, so where does Maui fit in?
Right, here's the rundown. Honolulu, H&L, is $418. That's up 46%, and it makes Oahu the most expensive this week. Kauai, LAH, is $334, up 31%. Kona on the Big Island, TOA, $397, up 13%. Hilo, also Big Island, ITO is $304, up 23%. And Maui, OGG, $283. That's only up 2% week over week.
Wait, $283? That makes it...
The cheapest. Right now, out of all 5 major airports in Hawaii, Maui's OGG has the lowest starting price for a week-long rental.
That is genuinely surprising. With all the peak pricing and weirdness we just talked about, Maui is the cheapest island for a car rental.
Comparatively, yes. And it's not just a one-off this week.
Yeah.
Maui actually held that cheapest spot for 12 weeks straight earlier this year, from late March to mid-June. It slipped for 2 weeks, but now it's back to being the lowest.
So it's kind of a persistent trend lately, despite everything.
It seems so. While Maui's own prices are at their seasonal high, when you compare it across the state, it's offering, relatively speaking, the best value right now.
That's crucial perspective for anyone listening, especially if you're maybe planning a multi-island trip or just wondering how Maui stacks up value-wise. You might find better deals than you think. Okay, let's try and pull this all together. What have we learned from this deep dive into Maui car rentals today?
Well, prices are definitely at their summer peak around July 4th. No surprise there. But there's some really wild stuff underneath, like convertibles skyrocketing and those minivans being sold out yet sitting idle.
Right. And we saw that the historical patterns, those seasonal peaks and dips, they are largely holding true. That gives you something to plan around. But the booking strategies, much more complex now. Booking last minute has often, though definitely not always, beaten booking way in advance recently. Yeah, and that classic advice about off-airport being cheaper totally flipped on its head in Maui right now.
Yeah.
Likely because of the post-wildfire business changes. Airport's often cheaper now, and sometimes the only option for certain cars.
Exactly. And then the final kicker.
Despite all that peak pricing and local disruption, Maui is currently, fascinatingly, the most affordable island in Hawaii for a car rental.
It really is. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah.
Think about what other maybe hidden factors might be shaping travel costs. Not just in Maui, but anywhere popular. You know, things like global logistics, those big market corrections we mentioned, specific local events, shifts in how businesses operate. How can understanding those deeper layers beyond just the sticker price help you make smarter, maybe more adaptable travel plans in the future, wherever you decide to go?